Hello, today we are going to start lesson 7.4, and we're just going to go over the first part of this lesson, so everything on this first page. So it says 7.4 is solving linear systems by multiplying first. What does multiplying first mean? So sometimes we might start with a group of equations that do not have a coefficient that matches up, meaning the 5 and the 3 don't match up. They're not both 5 or both 3, and then the 2 and the 4 are both different. Okay, if that is the case, sometimes we can multiply one of the equations to get the coefficients to match up. So I like to look at the numbers that are smaller. For example, can we do 3 times a number to get 5? So this 3, can we multiply 3 to get 5? Or can we multiply 2 to get 4? Which one do you think? I think we can multiply 2 to get 4. So in this work, what I show here now is if we multiply 2 to get 4, we have to multiply times 2, correct? That means we have to multiply every single number by 2. So 5 times 2 is 10, 2 times 2 is 4, 16 times 2 is 32. Most importantly, we get these 4s to match up now. So in green, that's what's most important, is that we have the matching coefficient. From then on, we would be able to draw our line underneath. And in this case, because the signs are different, I would add both equations. So that's an example of what we're trying to get. So let's slide down and look at example A. So we're trying to solve a system and get an ordered pair for our answer. If we look at example A, the 6 and the 2 do not match up. The 5 and the 3 do not match up, so we cannot add or subtract right away. What we have to do first, we have to multiply the bottom equation by 3. This is because if I do 2 times 3, I'll get 6, right? So I do 2 times 3 to get the 6 over here. I do 3 times 3 to get the 9 here. And I do 5 times 3 to get the 15 here. Now if I look at both equations in this box, I have the 6's that match up. I have a 5 and a 9, 19 and 15. If we look at the 6's, they're both positive. Should I do 6 minus 6 or 6 plus 6 to get 0? I think 6 minus 6. Okay, we need to subtract, which is why I put a little subtraction sign right here. We're going to subtract both equations. When we do 6 minus 6, we get 0x. We get 5 minus 9 is negative 4. 19 minus 15 is 4. So we get this equation, negative 4y equals 4. Well, negative 4 times what number is 4? If we divide both sides by negative 4, we get negative 1. 4 divided by negative 4 is negative 1. So that's part of our answer. If you look down below, part of our answer is negative 1 for our y number. So how do we find the x? Let's go back up and steal that first equation. 6x plus 5y equals 19. We're going to copy that equation, but instead of writing y, instead of putting this y right here, we're going to put negative 1, because that's just what we found when we were doing the work before. 6x plus 5 times negative 1 equals 19. Now, all the way down, I just simplify. 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. Then if I add 5 to both sides, plus 5, plus 5. 5's go away on the left side, and I get 24 on the right side, and then I divide by 6. I get x equals 4. So that 4 of our final answer is our x number. We get an ordered pair for both. So to recap, really the main thing that we did differently was we started by multiplying by 3 to get coefficients to match up. Let's look at letter B. For letter B, our coefficients don't match. 6 and -2, -2 and 3, we want them to match up so we can either add or subtract. So in order to fix this situation, I'm going to multiply both equations by 3. The reason is I can do -2 times 3 to get -6. So -6 would be close to 6. We just want it to either be a positive or negative version of itself. So I like to look at the smaller number trying to get the bigger. If I multiply both equations by 3, I get -6. 3 times 3 is 9. -5 times 3 is -15. So the only equation I changed was the bottom one. The top one I copied. 6x minus 2y equals 1. I didn't change that one. I just brought it over and I kept them lined up. Now, we're at the point where we can either add or subtract. If I look at 6 and -6, should I add those numbers or subtract to get 0? I'm trying to get 0x. Okay, if I add them, 6 plus -6 is 0. So I also need to do -2 plus 9 to get 7. -2 plus 9 is 7. 1 plus -15 is -14. Okay, so that's how I get 7y equals -14. Now, 7 times what number is -14? If we divide both sides by 7, we get -2. So -2 is our part of our y answer. Let's go back and find our x answer. If I put in -2 into our first equation, okay, if I copy down that first equation, 6x minus 2y, instead of y, I'm going to put -2. 2 times -2 times -2 is positive 4. If I subtract 4 on both sides, I get -3. If I divide by 6, -3 divided by 6 is actually -0.5. So yes, we do get a decimal. Decimals are okay, but I will tell you that on your practice sheets, you should not be getting decimals, just because the problem should work out much nicer. So -0.5 would be our x number. So for one example, for our first example, we subtracted. For our second example, we added. If we look at these other two examples, let me get some of this work out of the way here. If we look at these other two examples, letter C and letter D. Letter C, we had to multiply the top equation by 2. Okay, we also could have multiplied the top equation by 7. We could have done times 7, because to get y and 7y to match up, we could do times 7, so either one would work, but I just chose times 2. Okay, so times 7 could have worked, times 2 is what I did. Now we get this new equation right here, 2x plus 2y equals 4. Because these 2's have the same sign, we subtract. 2 minus 2 is 0. So we get negative 5y equals negative 5. Divide both sides by negative 5, we get 1. Plug 1 back into the first equation, we get 1 again. So here's our answer. Letter D, let's look at what we chose to do there. Letter D has these two equations. I have two options here. I could multiply by times 3 instead. If I did times 3, I will get those to match up, my x's. I chose to do times 2 to get our y's to match up. Okay, so it's okay that we did times 2 instead of times 3. Now, after I did times 2, our result, we got negative 2x plus 2y equals 2. If I look at my y letters and my y numbers, negative 2 plus 2, I have to add them to get 0. So when I add all of my columns, I get 1x, I get 5. When we divide both sides by 1, divide by 1, I get 5 for x. Come back and plug that in right here. 3 times 5 minus 2y equals 3. Remember, that came from our first equation. 3 times 5 is 15. If I subtract 15 on both sides, I get negative 12. Divide by negative 2, I get 6. Here's our final answer. So all 4 of these examples involve multiplying just one equation. So make sure you have these written down correctly on your notes, and then you will be able to complete Delta Math and the practice. Thanks for listening.